There are 8 teams remaining in the playoff race. But first, let's see the 6 teams that got eliminated last week.
In the first game, the 49ers beat the Seahawks fairly easily, 41-23. In the second game, from last week's picks, Aydens was the only one to take the Jags. They ended up with a miraculous comeback, 31-30 over the Chargers. The Bills squeaked one out against the Dolphins. We all picked the Bills. The Giants held off the Vikings, 31-24. None of us picked the Giants to win, but they did it in Minnesota. The Bengals beat the Ravens 24-17. We all thought the Bengals would win. And the Cowboys dominated the Bucks, and all of us picked the Bucks. Myself and Reeve last week were 3 for 3, and Aydens was 4 and 2. 4 games this week. I'm going to try and be better than 50%. Welcome back. For this week's special guest, we have Bengals fan, Mr. David Plum, joining us. It's the only reason we allowed Bengals gear in the house. Steelers are out, Bengals are in. We'll live with it. Anyways, let's get to the first game. I think this game will be opposite of last week's Jags game. They weren't close in the first half, and then made it close in the second half. This game could be close for maybe a half, and then the Chiefs will pull away. I know the Bengals went into Arrowhead last year as the underdog, pulled off the upset, but this Jags team is not as good as last year's Bengals team. They're not as bad as the Jags team that went into KC in week 10, but they don't have enough talent or experience to beat Kansas City at home. I'm taking the Chiefs. They'll win it fairly easily. It'll take a half, but I'm taking the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm also taking the Chiefs. I think that with the extra rest and being at home, I think they're going to win probably pretty easily, at least in the second half, like you said. They've also got Mahomes, so Chiefs win.
David, what do you think?
I'm also taking the Chiefs. The Jags had the third worst defensive coverage for tight ends. I think Kelsey's going to dominate the game. He's going to be the difference maker. I take the Chiefs.
All 3 on the Chiefs.
I think that Brian Daboll and the Giants might be able to keep it close, but I'm still taking the Eagles here. They're at home. They had the number 1 seed. Teams get a number 1 seed for a reason. Eagles win.
I'm also taking the Eagles. My only question is, how hurt is Hurts? If he's still hurting, I think there's a possible chance of an upset, but I still think the Eagles are going to eke it out.
I agree. I think there is a chance of an upset here with Daboll and the Giants, especially if they can block Daniel Jones and give him time, but I don't think they're going to. The Eagles had 70 sacks this year. That's the second most in NFL history. I think they'll continue that, put pressure on Jones, and squeak out the victory at home.
Of course, I'm going to pick the Bengals to win versus the Bills. Allen is a turnover machine. He has been for the last 3 weeks. Actually, he's been all year. He's been a turnover machine. I think he's had 16 interceptions and 5 fumbles. That equals 21 turnovers. My concern for Cincinnati is the consecutive injuries that have occurred. Kappa, Collins, and Williams. But if you look in last year's stats, where did Burrow take them to? The Super Bowl, even with all those sacks. My choice is still the Bengals.
Both teams are coming off sloppy victories in Wildcard weekend. I think this will be a great game. I expect it'll be close. I'm really looking forward to Tre'Davious White trying to guard Jamar Chase. I think that'll be the matchup to watch. I'm going with Joe Cool and the Bengals to beat the Bills in Buffalo. I think the Bills have looked more shaky lately than the Bengals. The Bengals have looked strong, except for maybe last week against the good Ravens D. I'm with you, David. I think the Bengals will pull off the upset in Buffalo.
So do I.
Wow.
I'm also picking the Bengals. On the road, both teams had closer wins than everybody thought, and I think the Bills had a closer one. I think Joey B and the Bengals will do it again.
Both these teams had dominant wins last week. I think they both have great defenses, but I think the 49ers are the hotter team right now. They've looked strong the last 10, 12 weeks, and I think they'll be able to get better pressure on Dak than the Cowboys defense will be able to get on Brock Purdy. I think Shanahan is a better coach than McCarthy. He'll have blocking schemes in place to take care of Micah Parsons, and the 49ers are just rolling. So I don't see that stopping against the Cowboys, and I'm taking the 49ers to win.
Yeah, everybody thinks the Cowboys are going to keep it close against the 49ers, but there's no way. Their defense is just too good. Purdy's been playing pretty good, and I think I'm also taking the 49ers here to continue on to the championship round.
I'm totally different opinion. I'm taking the Cowboys to win. I'm not drinking the Purdy Kool-Aid. The 49ers really haven't faced any stiff competition while he's been quarterback. I think the Dallas defense is going to be strong, and I think Prescott, and if they get the running game going, they're going to beat the 49ers. I think an upset's in the making.
Nice. All right, back from popular demand from last week is another one of Aydens' top 5.
My top 5 for this week is top 5 QB runs of the regular season. Number 5, I have Taysom Hill against the Seahawks on 3rd down and 1, a big run like he has been all day, and keeps the ball tucked under his arm for Woolen to not get it. Number 4 is Bills against Chiefs, Josh Allen with the keep and with the leap. 1st down and more leads them to the game-winning drive. Number 3, I have Justin Fields on 3rd down, pump fakes, runs, and uses his speed to go all the way for a touchdown against the Dolphins. Number 2 is Lamar Jackson, also against the Dolphins, on 3rd down as well. Big run, open hole, uses his speed, and beats Howard to the end zone. And number 1, we have another Justin Fields with a big run against the Lions, showing off his Jets and making his way to the end zone.
All right, for special guest question this week, with a Bills fan and a Bengals fan in the house, we got to go back to the Bills-Bengals game. Obviously, the Stars are going to have a big game. It's playoffs. We expect them to. But who do you think is an underrated player that might have a big impact in the Bills-Bengals game?
I think it's going to be Hayden Hurst. I think his capabilities are hidden by the receiving core of Boyd, Higgins, and Chase. He can do big plays. I think he could be a game changer.
I look forward to seeing that.
For the divisional round bold prediction, I'm not just doing one game, but 2, both AFC games. I predict all 4 of those AFC QBs to have 2+ touchdowns each. That'll be Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. They'll each have 2+ touchdowns. What's yours?
My bold prediction for this week is going back to the Kansas City game. I expect Travis Kelce will get 125 yards of receiving and 2 touchdowns. Like our special guest David mentioned earlier, the Jags are pretty weak against tight ends, and they're facing the best tight end in the game. Kelce, bold prediction, he will have a huge week against the Jags.
Time for the last question, the last segment. Here we go. What would be a bigger surprise? A Giants win over the Eagles or a Jaguars win over the Chiefs?
I'm going to go with the Jags win over the Chiefs. I think the Giants will keep it close. They've been playing really well. They're known for the upset, close games. Dayball's a great coach. Doug Peterson is also a great coach, but the Chiefs are just that much more talented than the Jags. The Jags are still young for a playoff team. They have a lot of learning to do. I think that would be the bigger upset is if they were to beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Probably Jags as well.
Yeah. All right, that's it for this week's show.
Thank you, David Plum, for coming out and joining us this week. We'll see you next week.
See ya.